We are live. Hey, I have a new intro clip that was just sent to me today. I'm going to share this person's little bit of talent. That's going to be our warm-up here while people are filtering in. Better not get me copyrighted.
A bubble in a cup, a bubble in a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. You want a statue, but you ain't done enough. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Bubble in a cup, bubble and a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Demand respect, but won't give none up. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Bum. Fucking clown. King of the flop, yeah, he do it a lot. A king ain't a king if his crown ain't righteous. You the GOAT on a team with the worst plus minus. Spineless, cause every time you lose, you run. But when you win, it's handshakes, giggles, and hugs. Ain't no coach's job safe around you if a teammate outshines or rebounds you. Knife to the back, boy, you about to be traded. You don't believe me? Ask Anthony Davidson. I don't give a damn about your all-time scoring or the stats you pass. You never be Jordan. Get his number off your back, LeBron, you're not worthy. The worst Laker to ever wear the jersey. LeGM might be worth his weight in money. The only thing clutch about you is your company. A bubble in a cup, a bubble in a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. You want a statue, but you ain't done enough. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. A bubble and a cup, a bubble and a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble and a cup. Kobe told you they don't hang them fake banners up. All you gave LA was a bubble and a cup, you bum. Fucking clown. King of the flop, yeah, he do it a lot. Fanboys copied the song, it was soft as hell. But I made this beat and wrote it all myself. Yeah, they just like you, always needing some help. A lot, but Jordan wins with what he's got. He never cried, helped me to the refs for favors. Believed he couldn't win, became a ring chaser. Disrespected the game, I thought he was above it. Made a team draft a son they never really wanted. Called himself the GOAT, he respected other eras. But you don't, you won't appreciate the elders. You said we was lucky to get more LeBron, but you was wrong. We can't wait till your ass is gone. You narcissistic. Low management, ducking Giannis fake injury statistic. You never could've pulled this with Dr. Bus. He would've traded your ass, your bubble in your cup. A bubble in a cup, a bubble in a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. You want a statue, but you ain't done enough. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Bubble in a cup, bubble and a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Demand respect, but won't give none up. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Bubble in a cup, bubble in a cup. All you gave LA was a bubble in a cup. Kobe told you they don't hang fake banners up. All you gave LA was a bubble in.
Wow. Wow. Well done, Lamar Wallace. Just sent this, someone emailed that to me today.
Someone sent you that?
Yeah. Someone just sent it to me this morning. I was like, fuck it. I'll put it on the show as an intro for today.
Listen, man, shout out to that. What was the name again?
Lamar Wallace. I better read it again. I don't want to mess up. Shit, I don't even know if I'm assuming he wants me to.
Yeah, shout out to Lamar Wallace for making that song. I mean, my goodness, that takes some talent, regardless, like I said, we having a good time, we laughing, but I mean, it ain't no lying, right?
It was really accurate.
That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Once again, man, that was a lot better than the LeBron James fan songs that they've been coming up with.
They sound like they want to make love to him. So, hey, I mean, now since Lamar Wallace has me on that track, what is the most offensive place for LeBron to get a statue? Because I would say all three places he doesn't deserve one. But LA, is that the most offensive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially considering the other greats that were there. And then to just put that goofball next to them, it's just wrong. It's so wrong.
On so many levels. On so many levels. I mean, like the song implied, like the song stated, LeBron James did not really accomplish much in LA. Let's be honest here. And you know, when we talk about Los Angeles and LeBron James, when they talk about Los Angeles for LeBron James, his time there, they keep trying to not give Anthony Davis the credit that he deserves. He's the one that saved LeBron James. We
Yep.
have to be real here. The first year in LeBron for LA, in LA for LeBron James was horrendous. It was horrible, regardless of the groin injury that he had during that season. And the reason why the groin injury should not matter is because remember, it was LeBron James who came back and activated playoff mode. So when he came back and stated that he was activating playoff mode, what he was telling everybody out there is like, listen, I know I've been out for a couple of weeks here. We've lost some games. We've gotten back a little bit, but I'm activating playoff mode early because of that. And I'm going to get us in the playoffs. That didn't happen. Nothing happened actually after that. And they fired Luke Walton and they traded a bunch of guys away. And it was Anthony Davis requesting a trade that was the turnaround factor for the LA Lakers.
And someone did a video recently that explained that, you mentioned the injuries, but even when he was playing, they were 50-50.
Absolutely. That's the facts. I mean, listen, they weren't good that first year because LeBron James came in there. And what's the another thing that people don't mention, the LeBron James fans of the media, LeBron James going to LA, that was the first time in his career that he went to another team and he didn't bring nobody with him. He didn't bring no one with him. He didn't have no superstar already waiting there for him. That's the first time. And what happened? LeBron James had a chance to actually prove us wrong. Go there and get that team to the playoffs. Go there and make the guys around you better. You had a Brandon Ingram there. You had a Lonzo Ball. You had a Kyle Kuzma. You had some players around you. Yes, we know Lonzo Ball had injury issues. We understand all of that. But that was LeBron James' chance to actually do something as far as making the guys lift the Luke Walton up, maybe turn him into the next Eric Spoelstra type of dude. But LeBron James didn't do that. So those are some of the things that they mentioned. When he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers the second time, when he went to Miami, he brought backup with him.
Yeah, and look, there was a lot of young talent on that Lakers team that he went and joined. He should have turned that into something. Now, when I start talking about woulda, shoulda, coulda, then we start to sound like LeBron fans. We won't spend too much time in it, but we all know that Jordan going to that team would have shaped those guys into what they were capable of becoming rather than them getting shipped out and LeBron continuing to bring in all the mercenaries that would carry his ass to one bubble ring, which is on our list of topics for today, because once again, they're trying to blow it up, make it pretend like it's something that it wasn't. And I think I listened to you ranting about it this morning, and some other people have talked about it now. And what I recall shortly after that, when LeBron started right after that going down like this, it was Stephen A. Smith was the first one to say the insanity that might be the toughest chip. As a matter of fact, that might be the toughest chip. Comments. Any people in the comments? How could that possibly have been the toughest chip? And what aspect of that is the most insane to say? And while they're commenting, I mean, Robin, have you narrowed it down? Like, which aspect of that is the most insane?
Yeah, and you listen, you know, we've talked about these kinds of things. You know, I always go to the societal view. It's always me in society, because that's what they're talking about. That's what Stephen A. Smith is trying to say. And that's what LeBron James is trying to say. The societal view, what was going on in society at the time and the conditions that they were living under. He really wants you to believe that that was the hardest conditions in the history of mankind. And that was the toughest place for a basketball team to win a championship. It's asinine for him to try to make that argument and make that claim.
I mean, this is the world we live in now. Take reality and then say the opposite of it and try to convince people that the opposite is true. If anything, that's exactly the environment that LeBron James would thrive in, because he's shown us throughout his career that he does not like pressure. You create a practice gym facility type of scenario that is actually an NBA championship, that's better for LeBron. And of course, it was better for LeBron being a shortened season because he, not just Anthony Davis, both of them have had a lot of injuries during their time in LA.
Yep.
But we also saw, without a shadow of a doubt, that when AD goes down, LeBron is helpless. And then LeBron got AD shipped out, thought he was bringing in an upgrade, still wasn't enough. When is it ever going to be LeBron who's the actual man? Now, they give him the accolades. You know, you just rape and rip off his teammates, giving LeBron James the MVPs. Just insanity. Just insanity. Both the 2020 chip and the cup, the bubble and the cup, both of those MVPs were just insane to give to LeBron James over Anthony Davis.
Absolutely, AOH. Absolutely, man. Listen, the one thing we know for certain is that LeBron James is never going to win the Michael Jordan Award, and the Michael Jordan Award is the MVP. Remember, they renamed the MVP the Michael Jordan, MVP Most Valuable Player Award after Michael Jordan. And he's never going to win that award, ever again. He's never going to win a legit MVP. He could win that once again in-season tournament MVP. And somehow he came away with some Olympic MVP that we didn't even know was in existence till this season. At least I didn't know about it until this season. But once again, like you said, they're trying to keep LeBron James' name relevant by giving him these accolades when we can clearly see he didn't deserve. See, that's the problem. The videotape does not back up the MVP of the Olympics going to LeBron James. It doesn't back it up.
No,
we saw the games, man. We watched the Olympics. We clearly saw Steph Curry literally snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. I was watching every minute of that damn game, man. They were going to lose to Serbia, guys. Everyone in the comments knows it. If Steph Curry doesn't do what he did in that game, they have nothing to play for them gold medal. They're playing for the bronze, man. Everyone knows that. The France game, I won't say he snatched the victory from defeat, but damn it, that game was closer than it should have been. And the reason why they ended up pulling that game was Steph Curry, along with Kevin Durant, who was knocking some shots down, but it wasn't LeBron James, man.
No.
So we've seen the video footage. It doesn't back up these things that he gets. When they talk about that all-team NBA, the NBA, all-NBA second team, we have the video footage and everything. How was LeBron James with a negative plus minus and all the video footage that we have, him not making across half court, him standing around on defense, him goofing around, turning the ball over, hitting the side of backboards, airballing. That dude is second team all-NBA. Insane.
No, he didn't qualify for third team, much less second team. And yeah, look, Steph Curry snatching victory away from the other team, that by itself gets you MVP. LeBron James got MVP because of glue. He was glue. And then I broke down the footage all summer long, and I was like, he wasn't the glue either. And by the way, I finally figured out, because you think that YouTube has been hard on me with copyrights this way. The Olympic footage, I couldn't get anything out. I'm going to put it up on this and see if I can get away with it. I'm going to analyze my own breakdown on here and see if it won't get taken down. Let's give some love to the comments. Italian in Laguna Beach says King Jockstrap Sniffer himself, Reggie Miller, said it was so much easier to make threes in the bubble because there was no large void behind the basket like you have in a large arena. Yeah, okay. But just for LeBron Jock Sniffer to say anything contrary to what helps LeBron tells you a lot. Let's get to shout out to the GOATs, AOH and SNFR. Let's roll, says Machiavelli. Thank you so much, Machiavelli.
No, for real. Shout out to Machiavelli.
And we also have Mr. Shanny. Again, remember, AD had legitimate injuries. Scrubnificent did not. Well, how will we ever know? In LeBron's own words, you'll never know. If I do have the surgery, you'll never know. Why? Why would we not know? That's standard information to provide when you're a professional athlete. Why would we not know that?
Oh, man. See, the thing about Anthony Davis and the injuries for Anthony Davis that he sustained, whether they were legit or not, is irrelevant. The thing that we know is this. Anthony Davis already had a reputation before he came to the Lakers as a guy that missed games, that was frail. That was Anthony Davis' biggest problem. He had the talent, he had the game, he just didn't have the durability. He didn't have that. So when we think about LeBron James and you compare him to him that way, LeBron James is always supposed to be hyped up and known, promoted as a guy that works out, a guy that's strong. He's 6'9", 260. He's a workout in the offseason. He's in this great shape. That was never Anthony Davis' reputation. So who cares if Anthony Davis is getting hurt? That's what he's supposed to do. LeBron James ain't supposed to be frail like this. He ain't supposed to be out missing all these games for no reason. That's the problem.
I mean, the season that LeBron James missed as many games as Anthony Davis was the season that they had the ad campaign of him defeating Father Time. Just choose your reality. Hey, LeBron James is Iron Man as he sits out.
If LeBron James, I'm sorry, go ahead, AOH.
Well, it was just that song that we opened up with even pointed out how he dodges Giannis with fake injuries.
Right, absolutely. Shout out to Michael Knight. He was the first person up in here in the live. Yo, shout out to everybody in the chat for real, guys. Yeah, if LeBron James was really beating Father Time the way that some of these guys try to hype him up, you know, some of these YouTube channels that I've seen that have made some of these videos talking about LeBron James, you know, beating Father Time, then where are the MVPs to show for it? Where are his all defensive teams, you know, at this stage of his career? Because that to me would really highlight and prove. Where's LeBron James being the oldest MVP in NBA's history? Where's LeBron James being the oldest defensive team guy in NBA's history? He's not doing those things. That would be LeBron James dominating. Where's LeBron James being the oldest player to lead the league in scoring or something like that? You know, we don't see those kinds of things being accomplished from LeBron James because he's not dominating. What he's doing is putting up statistics that have zero impact and leaning on his teammates more often than his fans want to give credit for.
Be careful, Robin. They will give him those accolades, and then you won't have that argument anymore. He won't deserve them, but they've tried. Hey, they actually tried to put his name in the MVP discussion. And defensive player. They actually, I mean, it's absolute insanity. Thank God it didn't happen, but is it beyond your imagination of them actually giving it to him? I mean, what are we going to do? We just sit here another year of saying, what? They're calling the bubble chip. Not only is the bubble chip not a chip, but calling the bubble chip the toughest chip ever. And we have to sit here and take it because the dipshits on TV get away with saying it. I mean, it's insanity.
I mean, it's insane. And I talked in that same video about LeBron James talking about focus, how much focus was required in the bubble. You know, and he was talking about that. You know, and I've mentioned in the past on my channel, you know, Bill Russell back in 1969 and the championship that the Celtics won back in 69. I want people to understand when he talks about focus, Bill Russell not only had to deal with the civil rights movement during the time that he played, deal with all that hatred, you know what I'm saying? But he also was out there coaching the team. So he was coaching the team. This man played every minute of every game of the finals. He didn't miss a minute. He played every minute of the damn finals, guys. This is what this dude was doing while he was coaching the damn team, man. So when we talk about focus, we're talking about being locked in. Bill Russell was locked in, man.
And half the town was clapping for him. The other half were throwing rocks through his windows. It was a little bit more challenging.
He wasn't in the Disney resort. He wouldn't even be allowed to stay in the Disney resort back in the day, man.
You beat me. You beat me by that much.
I tell you, man, these people, they don't live in reality. It's insane.
You know, didn't LeBron tweet, feels like I'm doing a dime or I'm doing a bit? Some sort of a prison reference? No, he did during the bubble, like trying to sound like he was, I don't know, getting some street cred by like knowing what doing prison time is like. How dare you? Did people think that was cool, or did they get offended that this motherfucker's at a resort comparing it to doing prison time? Oh, I can't see my family. You're not seeing your family now. Why? Why won't you go home, LeBron? Mr. Family Man, why won't you go home? Just tell us. Why won't you go home?
No, you're absolutely right. It waits. That's called perspective. That's called not living in reality. You don't know how the world goes around. Are you really trying to compare that to prison? Are we really trying to go there? You had guys talking about it was like living in a bunker or something like that. Like, come on, man. Talk to the people in Ukraine about living in bunkers, man, about living in shelters, hiding out from bombs overhead and all this kinds of stuff. You guys don't live in reality, man. You were in a Disney resort. For hell, Jimmy Butler was selling coffee. The man was a barista in the bubble, and that's who LeBron James played in the finals. The man played a barista in the finals. Are you kidding me? Yo, give me a second, AOH.
So Somos Banditos completed the list of talent that you were mentioning earlier. 2018-19 Lakers had Josh Hart, Alex Caruso, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Zubats, Caldwell Pope. My goodness. Illustrious says, I'm from the city of Los Angeles. Nobody watched the bubble. Our population is 12 million alone. Yeah. And LeBron Lakers only managed to get 5 million viewers worldwide. And this is when nobody had anything to do. You were locked inside. Damn, man. I mean, that alone tells you that no one took the bubble chip seriously. We have to start a campaign. We all have to start practicing it better. Not to say that LeBron has 4 chips. But where I get stuck is that I'm not so sure he deserves to say that he has 3 chips either. And then am I going to stop there? I'm not so sure he deserves to have 2 chips. So what number are we going to say? It's not 4. We definitely got to take out the bubble. But the more you look at the other chips, those aren't legit either. Like, there's some really shady shit going on with those things.
That's when when you check up on the resume, that's what I'm always telling you guys. When you call up and check on the references on LeBron James' resume, like you just said, the man got 4 championships. That's a lot what we hear from the LeBron James fan. Oh, the man's got 4 rings and 4 MVPs. How was he not at least top 5? How was he not at least top 3? Blah, blah, blah. But these are the same fools that'll tell me Bill Russell ain't even top 10 when the man got 5 MVPs and 11 championships. Make it make sense or whatever, right? Come on, man. But when we talk about the championships and you talk about the legitimacy of these rings and stuff, this is what we're talking about. When you check up on those rings and you look into it, like you just said, are any of those championships not on a super team? I don't think we can say that about any of those championships. To me, the 2020 championship is a super team, man. This dude had Anthony Davis on Crest of Trade. Remember, his best friend's the agent of this dude. This isn't a coincidence. Are you kidding me? You had Rajon Rondo on the team. You had Dwight Howard on the team. How the hell did you get these guys? Where the hell they come from? All of a sudden, you got these guys on the team? Not to mention other players, you know what I'm saying, that they had on that team. The Alex Caruso, I believe, was on that team. So when we think about something like this, we think about the players on the team, all in the championships. Are they really legit? If you even think about LeBron James MVPs, the man's got 4 MVPs, no doubt about it. But 2 of them came on a legit super team, man. How the hell did this man win? Did Kevin Durant win any MVPs on the Warriors in 2017 or 2018 or 2019? Kevin Durant didn't get no MVP them years. He was on a super team. How come he didn't get an MVP? But this dude did. They called the Boston Celtics in 2008 a super team. Oh, they were the first super team, the Celtics. Okay, did any of them guys win MVP? I don't remember Kevin Garnett or Paul Pierce, Ray Allen with MVP.
He got Durant got Finals MVP.
He got Finals MVP. Yeah, well, no, he beat LeBron James in the Finals.
You know, with the focus thing, with LeBron complaining about focus and the difficulty of focusing, like and you ranting about it this morning, I kept thinking, this sounds like a kid in class who has to have his cell phone taken from him by the teacher in order to get his homework done. It's like, you can't self-discipline yourself. Like, what is your job? Like, this guy will give you every pretty worded speech that there is about his dedication. Oh, no one, if I ever see someone out there working harder than me, or if I, then maybe I'll have to, then I don't know what, I don't even remember. His nonsense doesn't make sense. I get dumber trying to repeat him. You couldn't focus in the bubble. What was it? Because it was too easy? Were the temptations of relaxation too hard there? I don't get it. There weren't any distractions, and yet that makes it harder. Holy shit.
Right.
Holy shit.
I mean, LeBron James literally said, AOH, his exact quote that he said, he was saying, you couldn't even go to a restaurant if you wanted to. You couldn't even go to a restaurant? That's what you were upset about? You couldn't just go to dude, come on, man. Like you said, when you say these things out loud, you sound ridiculous, man. That's what come on.
He's exposing how he doesn't realize it because he's so entitled. He doesn't realize how entitled he sounds. Like, first of all, they had restaurants for them inside of the resort. He just couldn't go to the ones that he wanted to.
It's Disney World, AOH.
Yeah.
They got everything there.
Exactly.
That's what they advertise. advertised in Disney World, right? They had everything at Disney World.
Yeah. And since this was during the pandemic, it reminds me, I remember looking at human beings and thinking how many people's biggest complaint was not being able to go out and eat. I was like, that doesn't speak highly of our species, that this is the hardest thing that we're going through. You need to be in public eating and being served. Like, fucking put some food in your mouths. There's some serious issues going on in the world. This is not what you need to be complaining about right now. Fucking eat by yourself. You have a television and a couch. Like, everything else in the world is dying a horrible death. Just shut the fuck up for a minute. Like LeBron James. Shut the fuck up, because you're making yourself look bad.
No, you made a good point. It opened up people's eyes, I think, to a lot of realities. And I think one of the biggest realities that it opened up people's eyes to is that they weren't in as good a shape as they thought they were. They weren't as healthy as they thought they were. And that we are a lot more fragile than I think a lot of people think we are, man. And we got to take care of ourselves, man. So hopefully that opens up a lot of people's eyes that they need to start taking care of themselves a little bit better, man, for real.
Yeah. Oh, we got another super chat. This is, hello, praise the dawn. Thanks for being here. LeBron is the most overrated athlete in history, bullying the weaker conference while on a super team, and he's top 2. Question mark. His entire career is fabricated. Man, that new video, shit, I don't have it queued up. I'll just I'll just take us completely off track if I talk about it. We should watch it live, though, because it's going to take me forever to break it down and how good it is. But it spends a lot of time. Fucking truck. Anyway, sorry, you're going to have to suffer through this truck. It spends a lot of time on the 2012 finals, his first ring, and how illegitimate that one is.
You're talking about, is it Gary Sports 88?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good video, man. It's a good video. He really, like you said, he really goes in on the 2020 finals, the 2012 finals, and, a couple of plays in particular at the end of some of those games, man. And, the blatant fouls from LeBron James that he didn't get called for. And, we've talked about this many times. We're not making this stuff up. The video footage verifies everything that we're talking to you guys. And that's what my man's talking about in that video. Yeah, some people had shouted him out in my comment section.
So this truck apparently is going to be in reverse for a full half an hour. Fucking human beings.
That's funny.
That sequence where LeBron just fouls the living shit out of Durant, I saw when I watched it, and I was breaking down the entire 2012 finals. Of course, I didn't finish. It's a daunting task. But even before he showed that, I'm glad he included that, because I was just like, what in the hell?
Yep.
He fouled him from top to bottom. And then he fouled him on the rebound too. And the ref was right there. If anyone thinks that these things don't matter, then think about how Dallas was able to come back in 2011 when they were down. Now, if the refs had prevented Dallas from doing what Dallas did, Miami could have won that series. Although, wow, geez, LeBron was so bad. And I'm not even just hating. LeBron was so bad they still might not have been able to win. The only way Miami could have won that series was to sit LeBron's ass on the bench. I mean, he was astonishingly bad.
Yeah.
That 2011 by itself should have disqualified LeBron from even being taken seriously, much less be in the conversation. Anyway, we're not here to talk about 2011. Did we cover the absurdity of the bubble chip enough yet? We still got to talk a little bit about the LeBron not having a bag.
Yeah, let's turn the page.
All right, we're going to turn the page, and I already talked about it with Zay, and I already did my own videos about it, but I have to ask a question to the viewers and to you, Robin. Was LeBron's point that he does have a bag, and how dare you say he doesn't, or that it doesn't matter because I have all these points and I don't even need a bag? Because his defenders don't seem to know. His defenders took both angles. Mm-hmm. And once again, LeBron, if you just shut your mouth, you wouldn't be in this mess, because now there is a mess. Half of them are saying LeBron doesn't have a bag and he doesn't even need one. That makes him even better. Others are saying, of course he has a bag. How can you say he doesn't have a bag? Which one is it? Like, if I forced you to choose, what do you think LeBron's goal was? Or did he not even think before he just spoke?
No, he did what he does. He played both angles because that's what LeBron James does. He'll play both sides like his fans will play both sides. But what's the one thing that LeBron James didn't do? He didn't bring the video footage with him, did he? You on a podcast, dude, you out here talking your mouth, all this stuff, but you didn't bring the video footage to back up you not having a quote-unquote bag. So these are the things that we're always talking about. If we say that LeBron James doesn't have the overall offensive game of a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, we have the video footage there to verify these kinds of things. It's always there. But what video footage do we have of LeBron James, man? We have a lot of these stumbling and bumping type plays, a lot of hitting the side of the backboards. We have LeBron James out here looking like a fool, like eating food on the bench, load managing in games, flopping out here on the court, right, throwing his head back, looking for cuts on his arm when there's nothing there, laying around on the floor, holding up the game for minutes at a time. These are the kinds of the things that we see LeBron James doing. So why didn't he bring the video footage out there? So yes, what he did was what he always does. So when he's talking about I got a 50 billion points, so how do I have the game? What did he do? He did the typical LeBron James stat angle. Hey, I have these stats that proves that I have an overall bag, but that doesn't really prove that you have an overall bag. Because once again, we're not comparing you to me and you. This is what people forget. This is never a comparison from LeBron James to the average ordinary people out here, the commoners. This is to his contemporaries. So when you say, do you have a bag? It's not compared to me or some dude playing in the streets. It's compared to those guys, the great scorers that played. They had an overall bag that was more impressive than LeBron James. LeBron James is a great basketball player. He's a Hall of Famer, man. So yes, he'll pull out a move. LeBron James has a highlight film, a highlight reel. No doubt about it. But the low lights is pretty crazy too, man.
Exactly. I mean, who from the NBA could we not put together a highlight reel for? The worst guy in the NBA, I can put together a highlight reel for. You're all professional basketball players. We're not pretending that you're not a professional basketball player, but you run your mouth and you run your mouth and you run your mouth and you want all this praise. And we're gonna be like, okay, wait a minute. Hold up a second, because you're not worthy of the things that you say you're worthy of. I mean, that you say that you're worthy of. And again, if LeBron's insecurity, being worried about what fans are tweeting about him, wasn't so great that he had to use his own podcast to defend it, we would have already moved on from this. But McZuggins, shout out to McZuggins if you're in the chat. McZuggins sent to me today, I don't know if you saw me making fun of Dan Patrick last night, but Dan Patrick yesterday went on and played the old man card. It's like, well, I just now got on Facebook and I don't know what the bag means. Can you guys tell me what the bag means? Well, guess what? This clip I'm about to play for you is from November 21st, 2024.
You're 6'7", 6'8", I know, 3-and-D guy, and the model for that is Paul George.
Yeah, the young kids say he's got a bag of tricks, like a great arsenal.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes you have to translate for me because I'm older. Look, I don't understand. I thought the bag was money.
Exactly.
All right, so in basketball terms, when they say his bag is crazy, like bag of tricks, like a great arsenal.
Okay.
Like Kevin Durant, he's got a bag. Paul George, he's got a bag. Kyrie Irving, biggest bag probably.
Wow.
I'm gonna pause it for a moment. I'm gonna let the whole thing play because it gets interesting. This is the exact thing that he tried to play off yesterday, even pretending that he thought it meant money. The whole thing. This is. Do people think that Dan Patrick is running his own show while suffering from dementia? He remembers this conversation, ladies and gentlemen. And even if he didn't, he's heard people reference having a bag about 1 billion times between then and now. You can't be in the sports media world and not accidentally learn what it means. But here's his co-host explaining it to him in the exact same way in November as he explained it to him yesterday. This shit is all fake.
Yeah.
Are there bagless players?
Kyrie's got the biggest bag?
It's crazy because sometimes they say Giannis doesn't quote unquote have a bag. And that really means like handles, counter moves. Hezzies means like a pump fake or something like that. So yeah, hesitation, yes.
Yes.
I don't think hezzy even means pump fake.
I didn't think that's what it meant when he said that, but you know, I mean, so listen, like you said, if you're being disingenuous is what he was being.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, is that why Giannis? Because apparently, unfortunately, Giannis like tweeted something in LeBron's defense. Well, Giannis, is that because you also were attacked about not having a bag, and now all the people who were attacked about not having a bag have to team up together? It's embarrassing.
Well, remember, LeBron James just said that Giannis could score 250 points in an NBA game in the 70s. So I'm sure that Giannis felt obligated, you know, to come out here and support his boy LeBron James.
At least Giannis had the decency to say that he didn't agree with that comment. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, just red-handed Dan Patrick. When I saw yesterday of Dan Patrick, before I even knew this clip existed, I was like, nope, there's not a chance in hell you don't know what it means, Dan Patrick. Not only do we have the common sense to provide speculation on the matter, we have proof. You fucking fake piece of shit.
See, I think what this shows, and I think this gives an example as to why someone like Dan Patrick shouldn't even be talking about basketball. Like, dude, you shouldn't even be talking about this stuff. Just shut up, man. Like you said, this dude's been in the business for like, what, 30 years, man? And you're going to sit here and act dumb? You should know everything, dude. That's your job. You're the host of one of these big time. See, this is what I'm saying. How the hell do these dudes have these platforms? Where's the knowledge based from? What is it based off of? Where's it from? Just because you went to school and you got some degree, you knew some people, you had some connections, you got hooked up, you got in there, but I'm supposed to listen to you? How the hell did Nick Wright get in there? How the hell did that guy, Danny Parkins, or whatever the hell the guy did a video on earlier that I never even knew it was even around? How did these guys get these platforms? Because I guarantee you, I'm no one. I'm nobody. I know more than these dudes, man. I'm telling you I do, man. And I can speak better than them. I can articulate my points better than these guys, man. And once again, I got the facts, man. These dudes don't, but they're out here running their mouths. It's insane that they have these platforms, man.
Well, you had a point at the beginning there. Dan Patrick, you're a professional in the realm of sports. It's your responsibility to know these things. Like, maybe it's a little bit cute to play the old man role, but no, this is your job. They didn't pull you off. It's not your son's show and they're having you on as the guest. Oh, my old man came in today and he doesn't know what a bag means. Isn't that funny? No, Dan Patrick, it's your sports show. It's your sports show that is still airing in 2025. Know what you're fucking talking about. It's your responsibility. But in addition to that, we have another level that he does know and he's pretending not to. So, as you said, how do these guys get their shows? How do they still have them? Because some of them were decent many, many years ago, and now they're all shit just to match the formula. But also then fanboys like to say, oh, you know, if you weren't a pro basketball player, you don't get to talk about LeBron. Well, why does Nick Wright get to talk about LeBron? Why does Windbag get to talk about LeBron? Clearly, I would pick you or myself in a one-on-one matchup over either of those guys any day of the week. Shit, take one of our arms away and we'll beat Nick Wright and Windhorse and Dan Patrick. So don't talk about the level of someone's basketball skill determining whether or not you can talk about basketball when you're going to play it both ways, fanboys. You don't want us to talk about basketball when, in fact, we actually do play basketball the right way, I might add. And the people that you listen to don't.
Yeah, word, man. You're on the money, AOH. Listen, man, you can put me and you out there. Like I said, I don't like tooting my own horn or trying to big myself up or anything like that. Like I said, that's not what it's about, man. But like I said, what qualifies these guys out here talking basketball or talking about these guys? Like I said, these guys weren't even watching the game back then. I know they weren't. Once again, all I have to do is know your age and listen to what you're saying. Those two things in combination with each other lets me know that you did not watch basketball back then. So you should not be speaking about these guys. This dude, Danny Parkins, trying to qualify his statements by saying, I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Michael Jordan guy. No, you're not. Because once again, there's no way that you can understand what Michael Jordan meant for the game, the way that he carried himself, the effort that he gave on the court, what it was about for him. There's no way you could value those things and to support LeBron James and talk about him the way that he was talking about him. Talking about LeBron James' availability is one of his best skill sets. That's insane for you to say about a guy who's played 82 games one time in his damn career. How could you make an asinine statement like that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, you know what else Dan Patrick said yesterday? He said that Kareem only had one trick, because when his co-host said it's your bag of tricks, he said that Kareem only had one trick. No, he had one unstoppable move. He didn't have one trick. Yeah. Dan Patrick, you're a professional journalist disrespecting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to make your dumb bag point? I mean, some of the things that these people say make me wish I could punch them in the face. Like they need it. They deserve it. By the way, I sent Haas the link to call in. Haas usually brings it. Haas, just don't dominate for too long. I'm going to let Haas hop in here for a minute. Haas, which part of what we've been going on about would you like to highlight? Haas,
Yo, Haas, bring the heat.
Man, I set you up. I set the table and you dropped the dinnerware all over the floor, Haas. All right, call back in when your audio is working.
Hey, listen, great show, guys. And let me just say, right at the outset, I'm working temporarily in Europe, so I might have a little delay on the audio. I apologize in advance for that. But I got a few things to say. First of all, a lot of good stuff on the bubble, but I got one more thing to add on that. And maybe, I'm not sure if maybe you guys touched on it a little bit, but this is something that's never talked about in the media. And that really bugs me about what's the whole conversation about the bubble. And the biggest, there's a lot of problems with the bubble championship. There are a lot of problems with it. But to me, the biggest single problem with counting the bubble ring as a championship is this. None of the actual players cared about it during this AAU tournament. None of the actual NBA superstars actually cared about that championship except for one. The only person that really cared about it was LeBron. Because remember when they almost canceled the whole playoffs and LeBron comes out the woodwork and says, "Oh, hell no, you're not canceling this playoffs. I need my 4th championship, bitch." And so Adam Silver had to cave to LeBron and not cancel the playoffs that year during COVID and the whole riot situation, all the bullshit that was going on that, nobody, but here's the thing. Okay. I'll tell you what would have happened in a real playoffs that year. If they had a real playoffs with real like home court advantage and a real playoff atmosphere, I will guarantee you the Clippers would have knocked off the Lakers that year in Los Angeles, because the whole city of Los Angeles that year, if you remember, they were all behind the Clippers. The Clippers were beating the Lakers in every regular season game, and they had even a great bench on that team. Like Lou Williams was coming off the bench getting buckets. They had Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. They had all these guys. They were ready to go. This was their year. And then things fell apart later on, and then they got rid of some other guys and brought in Harden and all that. But if you remember, 2020 was supposed to be the year for the Clippers. When they put that team together, that was going to be the year, okay? And then after the whole bubble happened, and in the post-mortem, when all the information came out, I remember Lou Williams gave an interview, and I was so disappointed because what Lou Williams was talking about was that none of the Clippers team gave a damn about no bubble AAU tournament. None of them actually cared, and that's why they lost early. They didn't even get to play in like the later rounds in the championship rounds. But what I'm saying is, if that was a real playoffs where they were playing in Staples Center, the whole thing, Clippers would have been hot. They would have been heavy. It would have been a tough nut to crack. And I'm telling you, The Clippers would have knocked off the Lakers easy work if it was a real playoffs. But it wasn't just the Clippers. None of the players cared about that championship and that playoffs. The only guy that cared at all was LeBron. And that's because he was trying to get a cheap ring to solidify his legacy. So that's the first thing I got to say. I want to say one more thing about Dan Patrick. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I've heard that argument before, and I believe it, but I don't use it very often because it's hard to validate. You gave a Lou Williams example, but that's still somebody who might have just been talking out of his ass. Again, I believe you because I heard multiple people say it at the time that the players were kind of like, and again, this is a distant memory for us now, but the pandemic was kind of a big deal, and a lot of people are like, a lot of people were indeed thinking, you know what, I've got bigger shit going on in my life.
Right.
So that makes me kind of believe that the players are like, look, I'd rather go deal with things at home than we can pick the NBA up again next year.
Like later on, we all figured out that COVID was a big fraud and we were all lied to. But at the time, that was early. At the time, it was a big deal. Like people didn't know exactly what it was. And the media was scare baiting everybody into thinking it was the next polio virus or some shit. Okay. And so
a lot of big deaths too.
Yeah. And so I think I understand your point on that, but trust me, no players cared. The only guy that cared was LeBron.
Do you have any other good solid bits to use other than Lou Williams? I mean, I'm not doubting you. I'm just
I remember over the years there were a lot of players that came out and said they just really didn't play hard. They didn't really care. It was like an AAU tournament to them. I'll have to go back and do some research on that, but I know there was multiple guys who came out and said they didn't really play that hard, and it's not that they didn't play hard. It's just they didn't care. They weren't emotionally invested in a bubble ring like in an AAU tournament. The last time they played AAU tournaments was in high school. They just didn't care. Okay. Now, let me say one thing about Dan Patrick, and this is especially disappointing to me because I remember the 80s and 90s when Dan Patrick was, the anchor on SportsCenter. Okay. And that's actually during the era where they actually covered sports. It wasn't like, and by the way, this is the same with the media too. The media used to be more fair back in the 80s and 90s too, just the news media. It used to, there was a little bit of bias, but there's a difference between a bias and like an outright agenda, right? And that's what have changed both in the sports media and the regular legacy media in the news media is that it used to be like a slight hint of bias, but now it's just an outright agenda. Like they just lie on purpose. And that's what happened to the sports media too. So for Dan Patrick, a guy who was there when it started, when they actually covered sports, when they actually gave you the highlights and not just like a sort of flavor the highlights with a bunch of bullshit and agenda-driven talking points. They just covered sports, and you got the good highlights, and it wasn't sugar-coated with a bunch of agenda-driven bullshit. And for Dan Patrick to have gone through that era, been on the anchor chair, and then to not reflect upon that and say, this is wrong how sports media has changed over the course of my lifetime. Dan Patrick should be on the front lines against that kind of stuff. And to see him now just saying the same LeBron James bullshit, man, that really disturbs me a lot. I'm really upset about Dan Patrick, man. He should be on our side. He should be coming into your show and joining you guys in protesting the way sports media is covered. That's what should have happened. Instead, he's just he's just a tool. He's just a useful tool, just like all the rest of them.
I don't know if you heard me earlier with Robin, and I told Robin, I was like, not all of these guys were always crap. Some of these guys were good and made a decision to join the crap format.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's disappointing. He's not the only one, but yeah.
But what makes it even more disappointing is that he was in the original anchor chair. I remember it was like, who's the remind me of the legendary black guy, like the other side of cool is the other side of the pillow. Remind me.
Yeah, Stuart Scott.
Yeah, Stuart. Yeah. I remember those days, man. Stuart Scott, Dan Patrick. You had Chris Berman covering football. Like that was when sports media was good, and they actually covered sports and not agenda-driven bullshit. Because LeBron's billionaire friends were paying them money to give his agenda. Like now it's all agenda driven because I think there's a lot of money interests that are behind the scenes that's not really talked about that much. That's going to come out 30 years from now. But LeBron's money is infiltrating ESPN and all over the landscape. And these people are paid hacks for LeBron. That's what they are.
I see McZuggins in the comments. McZuggins, were you on here when I played the clip you sent me this morning? Because you say Haas, stick around, it gets a lot worse. But I think if you're referring to the clip I played that you sent me from 2021, Haas, I'm assuming you saw that.
Yeah, go ahead. You could replay it for the audience and for me.
McZuggins, were you here for it, or did you have something else that you were referring to? Because I'm sure there's more. I mean, unfortunately, that's the sad thing. We can always assume that it does get worse. I'm not going to replay it. It's just painful. But for those who are just tuning in, Dan Patrick went through the exact same conversation in November of 2021 that he had yesterday. Again, pretending that he didn't know what a bag was. Going so far as to do the same routine of pretending that he thought they were talking about a money bag, and then having his co-host or whatever that guy's role is explain to him that it's a bag of tricks, and then oh, that's what it means.
And see, Dan Patrick knows better. He knows better because he was around when sports media was tried to be honest. Okay, so he knows better than to do this, and that's why something tells me that we all understand for a billionaire. $100,000 is just like a drop in the bucket for a billionaire, right? It wouldn't be surprising to me, and I don't have proof of this. I'm just saying it wouldn't be surprising to me if LeBron James dropped Dan Patrick $100K and said, hey, listen, you got to support me on the bag comment, and I'll give you $100,000. Stuff like that goes on behind the scenes. I guarantee you, because we already know what happened with Draymond Green. He got paid off. With Nick Wright and all the Clutch Sports guys, they're getting they've infiltrated, getting all these media members on their bankroll. We all know it happens, but to the extent that like guys like Dan Patrick, who are basically just living off their retirement savings at this point, like 100K is going to mean a lot more to Dan Patrick than it is going to mean to LeBron's billionaire ass. And so he could drop him 100K and say, talk about the bag and how you don't know what it is. And Dan Patrick would happily do that if he sells his soul for money. And that's the problem. He should be on your show speaking truth to the media about the way the media has changed and the sports media has changed. He shouldn't be selling his soul like so many others have done.
McZuggins says I should play the rest of the clip. All right, let's see, because it does get bad. Let's see what else was in there.
That's where you get the head.
So they'll say, oh, Giannis doesn't have a bag. I was like, look, well, you score 35 a night. You don't need a bag, quote unquote.
Okay. Luka seems to have a bag.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Just trying to differentiate who has a bag. How big is your bag? Can I see your bag?
Right. So let me ask Marvin, just for a frame of reference for old school people, Karl Malone would not have a bag, but can be an awesome player.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
John Stockton would not have a bag. No. White chocolate.
No. I don't know if this was the part you wanted, McZuggins, but I cut it off to have a short clip. But Dan Patrick all of a sudden embraces the concept of a bag and starts telling everyone that white chocolate has the ultimate bag and is schooling people to this day with his bag. In addition, shortly after shitting on Malone and Stockton, and look, I think we're all still trying to figure out exactly because everybody is coming up with their own definition of what bag means. So now we have Dan Patrick's show deciding that Karl Malone and John Stockton don't have a bag but can be great players. I don't even know. Go ahead. You guys go.
I can just make another comment on the bag situation, which is the fact that, when you're talking about the greatest of all time, a lot of people like to say it's like one thing defines it. Oh, it's all rings, or it's all total points, or, the truth of the matter is it's all in the soup. Like everything is mixed into the soup. It's all a part of the pie, right? So LeBron's trying to disqualify bag from even being relevant to the greatest of all time list, right? The truth is that it's not dispositive. It's not like that one thing, having a bag, makes you the greatest of all time. No, that's not the point. The point is, it's all relevant. It's all a piece of the pie.
Robin,
right?
I know you're about to. Robin, I know you're about to throw up. You wanna go real quick?
This is why I'm aggravated right now. This is why I have my hand in my head.
Okay.
Or my head in my hands.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a time for someone like Dan Patrick and for all these other people out here to educate people, to educate these people out. This is what we're talking about, man. So, for example, they're talking about having a bag. What is Dan Patrick doing by acting dumb? He's trying to downplay the significance of what that really means.
Right.
So if we think about NBA's history, all right, and we think about the overall bag, what this is supposed to be for Dan Patrick is he was supposed to give you example of guys that had bags. That's what he should have done. He should have been like, listen, when we talk about having a bag, an overall game, he should have told you, hey, listen, someone like Elgin Baylor had an overall offensive game. He had a bag. He should have told you someone like Pistol Pete Maravich had a bag. He had an overall game. Don't interrupt me. You should have threw out guys like Bernard King. He should have threw out the Kobe Bryants. He should have threw out Hakeem Olajuwon. He could have threw all these different guys out there in different eras with different play styles that had overall bags that we saw play the game. But instead, what does he do? He downplays the significance of what that means and doesn't take that chance to educate anyone out there. So you don't bring those guys up. You don't mention their names, their overall games, what they could do, when they did it, how they did it. None of that. You didn't do that.
And that's true. Thank you, Robin. And that's the whole point of Robin's channel and AOH's channel, by the way, is to educate the public on basketball and sports. And that's why y'all are so disappointed in the man, is because he had a golden opportunity to educate people exactly what Robin is saying. And by the way, a bag, it's really not that hard to understand. It's an overall skill set. It's an overall skill set. And I understand. I actually, okay, just to show that I'm a fair-minded person, I actually understand what LeBron is saying. Like, you don't have to actually have like the maddest skill set and the Allen Iverson crossover and all this stuff. You don't have to have like a comprehensive bag to be like a really great player in the game. You actually don't have to. I agree with him on that. But in terms of the greatest of all time conversation, that's very important to that conversation. Hey, what your overall skill set is and your overall bag is to that conversation. In other words, you can be a great player without being in the top 5 GOAT conversation or a top 10 GOAT conversation. But if you're going to start talking about the GOATs of all time, now the bag matters. Now the skill set matters, because that's part of the beauty of the game. It's part of like the overall aura, the greatness of a player. And that's one of the reasons I have Hakeem Olajuwon at number 4 on my list, is because he had an overall skill set that could not be stopped. And LeBron just does not have that. I mean, look, Shaquille O'Neal didn't have that either, but he was still a dominant force. And I know Speem will kind of push back on that and say, okay, Shaq, he did develop a nice baby hook and stuff like that. And I agree with Speem that Shaq over time did develop a little bit of a bag. And he did actually work on his footwork. Like for example, Shaq's footwork is better than LeBron's footwork. And that's actually hard to believe if you think about it. Because LeBron's a guard. He's like a small forward. He plays point guard, basically. And here you have the largest center of all time with a better footwork skills than LeBron.
Yeah, I'm not nodding my head the way that Steve Nash does on Mind the Game. I'm nodding my head because I've actually thought about this. I've looked at Shaq, and Shaq is a monster, but he really did have some footwork.
Right, exactly. And what's unfortunate about Shaq, and this is where LeBron kind of does take it over Shaq, is that Shaq ended up getting fat. And so he worked on his footwork and he improved a lot of his skill set in his bag at the same time as he was gaining a lot of weight and getting fat. If he would have stayed healthy and improved his skill set, Shaq would have been like Wilt Chamberlain level for a long time. The one area you have to give LeBron credit for is taking care of his body and things like that, his longevity. To me, though, longevity is not a skill. Longevity is a tiebreaker in the all-time list. So if you have two guys that are too close to separate, longevity for me is like a breaker of the tie. Longevity is not a skill set. Your peak and your prime define greatness.
There's Speem Engine sent me a clip yesterday of a show called Breakfast Basketball. And there's this guy that I've never seen before that was like making fun of LeBron. And I was like, wow, where have you been? I guess this is why you're buried. And then his co-host comes back with the same stupid argument that, well, how can you score all these points and not have a bag? And then says that longevity is a skill set. No, it's
longevity is not a skill by definition. Longevity is simply time. That's all it is. It's time. It's not a skill set. Like these people they're just saying nonsensical, illogical bullshit. And so like that's just a definitional issue. Longevity cannot be considered a skill. Longevity, and I've raised the issue of like rating the greatest steakhouses of all time and all that. If you rate the greatest steakhouses of all time, you're not going to pick the one that's been around the longest. You're going to pick the one that has the best damn steak.
Right.
Period. And so the peak in the prime is what matters when you're talking about the GOAT list and greatness. The longevity is like if you can't distinguish between two guys, they're so close that you cannot make a decision, then longevity is like the tiebreaker. That's all it is.
Kind of generous of you to say that you understood what LeBron was saying, though, because I started the show asking Rom, I can't tell which direction LeBron's trying to go with this. Is he trying to tell everyone, I do have a bag and you can't say I don't if I have this many points? 50 billion, by the way, according to LeBron. Why does he have to exaggerate when he already has the record? I don't get it. You have the record. Why do you have to turn it into another obscene number? But then the other angle of it is you don't have to have a bag. Hey, you don't have to have a bag to be great. Or, hey, how dare you say I don't have a bag when I've done this? I mean, you could argue that either direction that he was going with it. You think clearly his point was you don't have to have a bag?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think what he was trying to say is that there's a number of players throughout history that have been great without a bag. I think did he mention Kevin Garnett? I think he mentioned Kevin Garnett.
Yes.
Yeah. He mentioned a few guys. And the point he was trying to make is as long as you get yours, you don't have to like look good doing it. And that's kind of like what LeBron's game is. He doesn't necessarily look good doing it. He just steamrolls guys to the rack and gets a layup or a dunk for a lot of his points. It doesn't look pretty, but he ends up getting to the rim a lot, and that's why he gets a lot of his points and his scoring.
I'm sorry, but imagine yourself saying that to LeBron. He won't accept that. You tell him that his game isn't pretty. He's not going to accept that.
Yeah, well, he has to because that's the truth. That's
okay,
the truth.
Right.
And actually, that in truth, in so many words, that's actually what he was saying about himself. Look, my game's not that pretty, but hey, I get, I got the most points of all time, and I got this and that, and I understand what he's saying. When my point is, yeah, that maybe matters to like the top 75 list, right? But when you're talking about the top 10 greatest of all time, no, your bag matters to that conversation. Your skill set matters if you're talking top 5, top 10, top 2. That's when your skill set enters in, the beauty of the game, the aura, the way you can deliver a skill set. Like just his pure dominance is not beautifying the game. Yeah, he can get points by bullying guys in an era where the rules were softened and you can just get a screen set onto a smaller guard and steamroll him to the rack. I get it. You can get points that way. It's not pretty. It's taking advantage of the soft rules that have been tailored specifically for you. For example, if LeBron had to go up against the bad boy Pistons, he wouldn't get past the free throw line. He wouldn't get past the elbow because he would get shoulder checked and elbow checked and the hand checked. Nobody's going to let him get to the rim in that era. So he took advantage in a lot of leagues softening the rules and a lot of bad policy and bad rules, and he took advantage of that. Now, that's the reason he's great, but that doesn't mean that his bag doesn't enter in. No, you could be great while not looking pretty in sort of a top 75 list when they did the top 75 of all time, that whole thing. But when you're talking about the greatest, the top 10, the top 5, the top 1 or 2, your bag matters a lot. Your skill set matters a lot to that conversation. I'm sorry, LeBron, you're just wrong.
Good stuff as usual, Haas. Loved having you come back again in the future. And, as usual, someone made sense of what LeBron said for him. Like this might be what LeBron was saying. I'm not sure. And we were able to extrapolate from it, but I'm not sure it's what he actually wanted. I don't think LeBron actually wanted us to take away from it. that his game was ugly.
You know what? What's interesting though, if we think about what we were just saying, that was also an opportunity for LeBron James to educate people or to celebrate the sport that he supposedly loves. So what LeBron James did though is he tried to downplay having a bag, but also he tried to act as if it doesn't bother him that people say he doesn't have a bag. But while you're bringing it up, it shows that it does bother you, but you downplay it to prove it doesn't. I don't know what he's doing, but why did LeBron James take that opportunity to be like, listen, I don't have the most extensive bag in NBA's history. You know what I'm saying? I went out there and I do my thing. I score my points my way. He could have said something like that, and he could have brought up Larry Bird and said, yo, look at Larry Bird and how he could score the ball in the myriad of different ways, that things that he could do. Why did he bring up someone like Anthony Petty Hardaway in the overall bag of a Anthony Petty Hardaway, right? He didn't bring up any of these guys. He didn't bring up a Tracy McGrady. He could have brought up Tracy McGrady's overall offensive game, the skills of a Tracy McGrady. These are the things that we're talking about. You could have brought up other players in the history of the game. You could have highlighted and celebrated these guys and said, hey, listen, man, I don't have the skill set of some of these guys. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not a great player. You know what bothers me when you bring up a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when they bring up these guys, they brought up Karl Malone, they brought up Kevin Garnett. Like, Kevin Garnett had an overall bag to me. I don't know what Kevin Garnett they're talking about, but I thought Kevin Garnett had a crazy skill set when he came in the league and things that he could do at the highest levels that he was doing it. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't necessarily need a bag because he had a go-to move. If LeBron James had a go-to move that he could do with a certain level of consistency at the highest level when it mattered most, then he wouldn't need a bag. It wouldn't be that much of a problem. But he doesn't have that.
You mentioned T-Mac. Do you know that they mentioned T-Mac? He had him in his list of people without a bag.
He said Tracy McGrady don't have a bag.
Yeah, he said, well, he kind of has a bag, but he didn't. He used his size more than having a bag. Something to that extent.
Tracy McGrady did some dribbling moves out there on the court that I saw him do that I didn't really see anybody else doing. I saw Tracy McGrady. He used to do like one of his patented moves was like a behind the back spin that he would do. So he would like face the player up and go like behind the back and spin at the same time. He wasn't the first guy I saw doing that on a consistent basis. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys in the chat can let me know. But Tracy McGrady had handles. He had an overall offensive game. The dude had like what, 3 scoring championships or something like that in an era where guys were playing defense. And still, I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about? They don't bring up guys like Iceman Gervin. Like, what are we doing here?
Let's give some love to Super Chats. Gemini Girl, thank you for the Super Chat. Back in the day, the media was up in your ass with a microscope. This is true. People say that LeBron was the most scrutinized player. He says dumb shit constantly in the age of social media. Shut the fuck up. Back when we didn't have social media, they still found a way to put you in the news. I don't agree with that. Like, the people that think that this is a harder time. The media apologizes on behalf of the players instead of trying to bring the players down. But I'll continue. If Savannah's 4th child had to put up with what he would have, Savannah's 4th child would have to be sedated if he put up with, to put up with what they put up with back then.
Oh. I mean, listen, the reporters a lot of times ask the star athletes, not just in basketball, but across sports in general, they ask them a lot of hard questions a lot of times. Because remember, the reporters didn't have the easy access necessarily because of social media that they do now. So they had to be literally on you. That was the only way they could be on you, was to be on you. The paparazzi, those kinds of things. That's how a lot of these reporters were, man. They were cutthroat, they were conniving, they were shady, they were sneaky. They would try to dig out information on players behind the scenes. All these things were going on back in the days. These guys act like social media is like the invention of like media in general. And like what these guys do, like you said, the coverage of LeBron James by what we could tell mostly, has been very fair and nice to LeBron James. They haven't been going after LeBron James. They haven't been trying to dig up dirt on LeBron James, because I bet you if they did, it would be out there.
The Jesse Glad Saget with the super chat. Thank you very much, Jesse. Says LeBrick's longevity is his bane. Interestingly enough, I agree with you, and yet it's also what fanboys are desperately trying to use to defend him, and yet it has in fact become his bane. He played longer than everyone at a high level on stacked teams and only went 3-6 in the finals. Thank you. Thank you. He's practicing. We don't say 4-6 anymore. 5 all-D teams. You know what's interesting is, some of the absurdity that came out of Nick Wright and Chris Broussard saying that LeBron's legacy is set. He can't do any harm to it. Would you apply that to Michael Jordan? Because those are the same people that will turn. If anyone's legacy was cemented when he retired after the second three-peat, it's Michael Jordan. And it's the Nick Wrights of the world that will go after Michael's Wizard years. Not just the Wizard years, but will go after his time as an owner. I'm like, wait a minute, you can go after Michael Jordan for his ownership failures and attack his legacy, but LeBron James can do nothing but add to his while he's making a fool of the Los Angeles Lakers and himself? That's convenient.
Absolutely. I've never lost respect for Michael Jordan, the basketball player, for what he did on the Washington Wizards. If anything, I had a newfound respect for Michael Jordan, for what he actually did out there. That last season, going out there and playing all of those games, the minutes that he played, like I said, giving that effort, that's what Michael Jordan is. That's who he was. Michael Jordan, like he said in the commercial, his career wasn't based off of the flash. It was based off of the fire. That's what it was based off of. It was based off of him giving the effort. We saw Michael Jordan do that. What the Jesse Glad segment is speaking to when he says LeBron James' longevity is his bane, what he's speaking to is the respect that's been lost from LeBron James. Who respects LeBron James anymore? I mean, my goodness, since 2011, when he told everyone to go back to their boring lives, this man has gone downhill. Downhill. And look at the way he's carried himself. This dude is a joke right now. How can you respect someone like this? So not only does we look at the things that he does off the court, the way he carries himself, but look at the way he carries himself on the court. Look at the lack of overall game. Look at it. Where is the proof that you've been working on these things? Not there.
Yep. You know what? Let's play for fun. I don't think we can do the whole thing, but let's play for fun what it actually sounds like when someone from the media expresses what we are all feeling.
80 billion points is a lot of points. I had no idea it was that many.
Insufferable. He really is. He's a billionaire. He's earned everything that's come his way. He's a great God-given talent, and obviously busts his ass to stay in shape and all that stuff. But we're complaining about anonymous dudes in their basements that are trolling you, and that really bothers you. And you're asking Steve Nash to agree with you, and Fat Luca to be like, "You're the best. You have 50 billion points. You're the greatest." That's why. He's just insufferable. And even his highly paid media members who cover for him every week for 52 weeks a year, as long as he's on the planet, eat that crap up. It's disgusting to me. And that's why he'll never be Michael Jordan. Ugh, okay. I see it all the time on social media. LeBron doesn't have a bag. No, you just have more finals losses than any human being on the planet. Sorry, not sorry. You've done nothing in LA. You can win without having a super team. No one counts that championship. And keep complaining about all the lack of pieces you have year after year after year when you're another one-and-done situation and a gentleman's sweep in the playoffs. Everyone says I don't have a bag. Then shut everybody up, find a bag, and go win a title, which you won't do in LA.
Well, he's
Oh, this guy over on the right, this goofball, boy, did he get uncomfortable. He was so upset. My God, I've never heard that kind of honesty. Where did this guy come from? I know he
was on a show some years back called Boomer and Carton, I believe. I believe Carton is his last name or his first name. I'm not sure. But he was on a show some years back. I suppose after he got in trouble in the law or something like that, and he was taken off that show. But yeah, he really kept it real. When he uses a word like insufferable, and he says the thing that he said about trolling from people in the basement trolling him, that's a great point that he makes.
Right.
Because oftentimes we hear LeBron James fans talk about and tell us that LeBron James don't care what we have to say. We're nobodies. We're nothing. Our channels are nobody, blah, 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 blah. We live in our mama's basement. We hear that a lot from these guys. But it really does seem that LeBron James hears what we have to say, and it does matter to him.
McZuggins. Name another superstar who says, or even another sport, anyone. God damn, get this play thing off the screen. Sorry, guys. This is blocking. Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Name another superstar who says, or even another sport where another all-star or someone star says, I'm the best and everyone who ever played was actually garbage. Cheers, gentlemen. Yo, shout out to McZuggins. You know, that's LeBron James, man. Like we always say, LeBron James doesn't live in reality. He has no humility. And a lot of these guys have taken the page from LeBron. I mean, think about it. You know, I heard Stephen A. Smith say that, you know, LeBron James always saying that he's the greatest of all time is a bad look for a superstar player. But think about all the other players of his era that have taken the page from the LeBron James book. But Kevin Durant called himself a basketball god. He actually took it a step further than LeBron James. He's a god. You heard Andre Drummond call himself the greatest rebounder of all time. We just heard Draymond Green include himself as a top 5 all-time greatest defensive player of all time. He's routinely called himself the greatest defender in NBA's history. We've heard a lot of these guys pump themselves up and talk about how great they are. They get that from LeBron James, man. Yeah, shout out to McZuggins, man. Yo, shout out to all you guys, man, that come through the comments, that come through the chat. Much respect. Thank you guys so much for all the support, man. It really means a lot.
Couldn't agree with you more, Robin, about leaving, setting a bad example. And we've had two here. Like, I know fanboys don't like accountability, so they'll just say, oh, well, you know, it's not LeBron's fault that those guys are acting that way. Well, when you set that standard, you don't want any accountability for that whatsoever. Yes, I agree that every man must be his own man and you can't blame someone else for your behavior, but you also are the person who set the standard, lowered the standard, set the standard to act like a douchebag, set the standard to self-praise, set the standard to fail and still self-praise. And then back to the disappointment of Dan Patrick, here's an opportunity to educate people and get us back on the right track, which is what your real job is, and you do the opposite. He knows better. That's the really frustrating thing. We know that he knows better.
Exactly, AOH. That's the disappointing thing out here. And this is why a lot of people are starting to gravitate to a lot of the content creators out here. People like me and you, others out here on YouTube and other platforms, man. Because once again, they're starting to understand. Some people are actually doing their own research. They're looking into these things. And like I said, you also can tell and listen to what these people say. They contradict themselves on the daily. I mean, think about it. And you just brought up a clip from Dan Patrick from 6, 7, 8 months ago. So you literally are seeing these guys contradict themselves, be disingenuous on purpose. They're purposely doing this. I'm telling you guys right now, these are the things that we're talking about, that we're highlighting to you. I have no reason to lie for Michael Jordan. No one's ever lied for Michael Jordan and these other guys. What we're giving you is the perspective and the context. We're giving you the historical facts here, what went down and how it went down. They're not doing that because they were not there for it. You can tell by the way they talk. You guys know because real recognizes real.
Lying is a complicated business. You have to be very careful when you're lying to not get caught in your lie, because telling the truth is easy. If you're telling the truth, your story doesn't change because you're drawing from the truth. You're not having to remember what your lie was. And I'm always going to feel good about my channel because I believe in accountability, and I believe that LeBron James is making the world worse. I believe he's setting a bad example. I believe that the current media is setting a bad example. I believe that Gilbert Arenas and FYF are setting a bad example. I believe that 10 years from now, if you go back and analyze their content versus our content, Our content is encouraging you to be better, not finding ways out, not finding methods by which to make it someone else's fault.
Yep.
I'll always feel better about that.
Absolutely, AOH. I mean, think about what we're defending and what we're talking about versus what a lot of these other guys are defending. They're literally defending flopping guys being held to a lower standard. We're actually holding the standard. When you just talked about, every man should be his own man, when we're talking about LeBron James being an example for the other players of the NBA, that's every other era. That's all professional sports. Think about something like the 82 games. Players playing 82 games in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. Why were they doing that? Because they were following the example of the other stars that came before them. They were following that example, following the lead of these guys. They played the 82 games, so I guess that's what we do. This is what we do. Play 82 games? Yeah, we play 82 games. Don't complain about it. That's what everyone else did. All right, you just do it. That's called what you just do. No one complained. It wasn't even a big deal. It was a badge of honor to say, yo, I played all 82 games. Think about when you were in school and you had perfect attendance. You didn't miss school back in the day. You just went to school. It wasn't a big deal. Now kids are missing school. They go on trips in the middle of the school year. Everyone misses school for this. The kids don't feel good here. Everyone works from home now so kids can stay home. It's not the same, man. Back in the day, everyone went to school. You just did those things, man. There was no, hey, we're not going today. Everyone went.
Robin, they need to be incentivized to go to school. Why should I go to school? Incentivize me. What you were just saying made me think about the Morris twin and his disgusting bit he did about the All-Star game. And it wasn't you, it was Uncommon, right? Had it. And I was like, holy shit. I just got to do a whole documentary on what a bitch that Morris twin is. But his entire thing, he was getting caught up in his own lie. He was going back and forth in the same thing because what he was saying was absolute horseshit. It made no sense whatsoever, except to remove accountability from the players. It didn't make any sense. You made me think about it. I'm going to have to do a whole show on that fucking clown. Let me read some super chats. Thank you, Patrick Blakely, for the super chat. La Bagless Flopperella. Yeah.
I mean, it just goes with everything. It really does, man.
It's too easy, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, I've got a few to catch up on here. Okay, so JB was here says to convince or discredit. First MJ, now us. Yeah, I mean when your whole game plan is to attack others, then it means that you're not bringing anything yourself. It's pretty.
Like I said, LeBron James should have brought the videotape on his show. Bring the videotape out.
Yeah, that won't go well. Shades Cal says Clutch Media is going to carry LeBron like Social Security after he retires, but for how long?
Yeah, they're already crumbling, man. They're not going to last long. They don't got to stay in power. It's like LeBron James. I told you, LeBron James don't got to stay in power like that. That's why he's dropped over all these people's top 10 lists, because he ain't got that staying power.
When LeBron finally retires, will the NBA's degeneration process continue or reverse? This is a question from Toreg, who gives a $10 super thanks. Thank you very much for that. Well, Robin, this is one that I go back and forth on. Are you solid on what you think is going to happen after LeBron?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can only speak for me personally, but what I've witnessed, I guess in this postseason alone, when we see that LeBron James is not involved in the playoffs, when he's an early exit the way that he did, it really takes like a fog off of the NBA. I don't even know how otherwise to put this. Like I said, because what does that do? It's not just about LeBron James himself. It's the impact of the media. Like you said, what these guys continue to pump him up. When you don't have him out there, then they can't do that. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, Michael Jordan's supposed to be, getting injected here. And I think that the players, and I think a lot of the media guys are starting to get fed up with LeBron James.
I got to tell you, it just says
we're making noise, man.
It says so much to me that someone like LeBron James, with everything that he's accomplished, whether I like him or not, his list is long. If he believes in his list, he should feel good about it. It just amazes me that his priority is to get on a talk show and have other people make him feel better about himself. Man, don't you have some community projects to work on, or all the things that you tell yourself that you're so good about? I mean, there's some shit in the world you could be working on, not worrying about your ego.
That's a good point, AOH. You're right, man. It's like when LeBron James said that he wants a month off between the regular season and the playoffs. Like, why would you want another month off? Like, don't you want to have that month to like play and then be done with the season so you have more time with your family? I mean, I don't know what we're doing here. You're just extending the season.
Does anyone remember at the beginning of this year, he did a press conference and he said something to the effect of, having Bronny here with me now helps make up for the years I didn't get to be with him because I was giving myself to the NBA. Like it was our fault or the NBA's fault that he didn't get to spend time with his kid. I'm like, man, you have all the time that you want. I mean, what? You're worried about setting up their future because you haven't made enough money? Like, retire. You still have kids at home. You can go spend time with them. Are we going to have to hear about this again with Bryce? And like, is he going to get his daughter into the NBA also at some point? LeBron, go home. Go home. They don't want you there, do they?
Well, his daughter's going to be the first female head coach in the NBA.
Yeah, and he's going to make history again.
Yup.
And that's
He'll still be playing.
Oh shit. Haas wants an encore. Are you down for a Haas encore?
I got to get going with AOH, man, for real, man.
Okay, Haas, save it for next time. You are fantastic. You can email me, Haas. I might have you on your own show.
I mean, if you guys want to do your thing, you and Haas go. I got to get rolling though. It's getting a little late.
No, I had to figure out a new spot to do this from, and I have to go pay parking like I did yesterday with Zay. So
yeah, you see, I had to move my spot here, man. It wasn't working where I was.
Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have the goofy $1 million studio with wine in it like LeBron. We have to do this just to counter all the lies he's telling in the world. So we appreciate that you come here and give us the support that you do. Robin, thank you for being here. Haas, McZuggins, Italian in Laguna, Jesse Gladsaga, everybody. It's offensive when I try and list everyone because I'm not going to remember everyone, but I appreciate everyone that was here. And I hope to see you on the next one because we've got a lot more to cover.